What's up everyone and welcome to the final Canon update for 2024. I'll get to all the new stories in a second, but first I've got to tell you that we're making some changes to how we handle the Canon update moving forward. The first video I did like this was February 2015, so I've been making these for almost 10 years. I'm ready to start mixing things up a little bit, so we're going to start talking about new Canon stories on a weekly basis instead of monthly. We're changing up our Saturday show too, so it'll be less of a Q&A and more of a weekly recap, and one of the segments will be Last Week in Canon, where we'll talk about new comics and books and anything that comes out. But I know some of you like the Canon update format as it is, so I am still gonna do this, but from now on it'll be available to all of our Patreon members, and I'll be putting out a monthly PDF that summarizes all the new stories every month and lets you know where in the timeline they take place and all of that. But check out our Saturday shows for what will basically become a weekly Canon update, where we'll have more in-depth discussions about everything, and we'll be starting that very soon. I hope you enjoy it, but for now, let's talk about the final Star Wars stories that were released in 2024. The first 6 episodes of Skeleton Crew came out in December and had a strong start. We learned about the Jewels of the Old Republic, the pirate port Borga was brought back from Star Wars Legends, Jodna Nawwood used Crimson Jack as an alias, the Holiday Special made an appearance. There were a lot of fun old Legends Easter eggs and new canon concepts for fans to chew on. But I'm not going to linger too much on this series because I've already talked about it a ton, and if you're watching this video, I assume you know what happened in Skeleton Crew. If you want to see our full reviews, I'll put them in the cards. Tempest Breaker was the new High Republic audio drama that came out following Lorna D and company directly after the events of the Marvel Phase 3 High Republic comic series. It's basically a bridge between that arc and Fear of the Jedi, which is starting in February. I was surprised by this one. Tempest Runner felt like it left Lorna D starting and ending at pretty much the same point, probably so the story wouldn't feel like required listening. Tempest Breaker had significant story beats for just about every character, and while I think it can all be quickly summarized in future comics, I felt like I got more out of this installment. And it had some great moments and set pieces like Lorna D biting Marchion Ro's neck during a ballroom dance. If you want to check out Tempest Breaker for free, you can on Audible. Visit audibletrial.com/Star Wars Explained or visit the link in the description to sign up for a free trial and get a free credit you can use on the audio drama or just about any Star Wars book out there. In the High Republic Adventures issue 13, Ram, Farzala, and Gavi chase the Nihil off of Valo with the help of Zyle, their mom, and some familiar pirate faces including Maz Kanata, Sav Maligan, and Dexter Jetster. The Jedi and the Nihil both head for Eriadu to fight over that world. Dispatches from the Occlusion Zone issue 3 had a pretty huge development for the larger High Republic story. Niv Drindow defects from the Nihil and joins the Jedi to pursue more knowledge about the Nameless, which I think is cool, but a little strange that it's happening in a spin-off issue of one of the main comics. I'm sure this will be discussed in future relevant stories, but I kinda wish this had somehow been included in the main Adventures comic. I'm finding a lot of these plotlines to be more compelling than the Eriadu and Valo stories. The High Republic Adventures Wedding Spectacular was delightful. I know there are more issues to come, but it felt like a really nice conclusion in a lot of ways. Artists that have worked on all phases of the series returned to draw a few pages, character arcs from this series and Trail of Shadows were resolved or picked back up, there were emotional surprises like Cantum Sai making it to the wedding at the last second. It was all around just a feel-good story. The Battle of Jakku, Republic Under Siege issue 3 saw the walls closing in around Governor Adelhard as the Acolytes of the Beyond and the Imperials under Gallius Rax's command all betray him. Meanwhile, assassins are still being sent after potential New Republic senators as well as Luke Skywalker. Weasel from the Cloud Riders makes an appearance, and Bylert Valance mentions some troublemakers from the Unknown Regions, which sounds interesting. The 4th and final issue of Republic Under Siege shows Adelhard's strongest ally, Reyna Askyr, betray him as well in favor of Gallius Rax and the rest of the Acolytes of the Beyond. Adelhard flees his Star Destroyer in an escape pod, crashing to a planet below. But no body, no death. And in the first issue of Last Stand, we get that confirmation. Adelhard survives and pretty quickly takes his ship back from Askyr. Now realizing that the Empire never had any true loyalty towards him, he seeks revenge on his enemies, both in the New Republic and the Imperial Remnant. He decides to head to Jakku along with everyone else to cause some chaos. Ewoks issue 3 had some fun connections back to some classic Ewok stories, specifically one issue of the Ewoks comic from 1985. Orkon the Waterlord attacks Wicket, the Imperial, and his mercenaries, but they survive and make their way to the weapons cache, which has now come under the ownership of a Gorax. For Story of the Month, I'm giving it to the 5th episode of Skeleton Crew. You have a lot to learn about pirates. It's my favorite episode of the series so far, unless episode 6 is a banger too. I'm recording this on December 30th. But that's it for 2024. In January, we're getting the last 2 episodes of Skeleton Crew, the final issues of the Battle of Jakku macro series, and 6 other comic issues. We'll be covering them more regularly in our weekly podcast from now on, so make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on our socials, and please do consider checking out our updated Patreon page for even more Star Wars videos. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.